I should take my glasses off. Good morning, good morning, good morning, everybody. How is everybody doing this morning? Welcome to Saturday Morning Mastermind. I think everybody's still kind of coming on here, so we may have a little bit of confusion. I don't know what you want to call that. I'm only about half awake this morning. My brain's not entirely working, so if I lose my train of thought, I apologize for that. But either way, I'm Samantha Studebaker-Carl, and I'm broadcasting from beautiful Southwest Georgia, although you can't tell it's beautiful. It's too cold for me to be outside this time. But I'm here with my good friends Jason and Dan and Catherine and Sandy, and we are just happy to be here and happy to be sharing this book with you guys. We're actually studying the book, I keep wanting to say the new Psycho-Cybernetics. We said that for so long. But no, we're studying the book, How to Win Friends and Influence People in the Digital Age by Dale Carnegie. And we're just loving this book because it's really great for relationship building. And since all of us are in the home business industry, you know, we're all about relationship building. And I guess realistically, when you look at it from an all-world point of view, that's what everything is about, is building good relationships. Because if you don't have good relationships, then your family life suffers, your social life suffers, your business life suffers. I mean, you've got to have good relationships with people all the way around if you want to be successful in all areas of your life. So this is a powerful book for that. But I'm going to go ahead and just turn the floor over to everybody else to introduce themselves, and then we can kind of move into this next chapter. So whoever wants to jump out.
I will. Good morning. I'm awake today. I don't know how. I woke up super early too, and I'm like, wee. I tried oil pulling for the first time. Maybe that helped. I don't know. I'm Sandy Root, and I'm here in Miami Beach. Beautiful sunny day, and I saw Jason just posted a pic to us in the group of a beach view as well. So. It's beautiful here. Hope you're all staying warm up north.
Hey, this is Jason from St. Petersburg Beach, and yeah, I posted a pic earlier. It's beautiful out here, but it got pretty cold, so I'm drinking some cocoa and trying to warm up. Wearing long pants for the first time in the whole year. But you know, it's not actually that cold. It'll warm right back up, and I'll be out on that beach. You can guarantee it. So good to see everybody. I'm glad everyone could make it, and looking forward to a good discussion.
Well, good morning, everybody. I'm Dan Smith. I live in Boise, Idaho. Got a beautiful day going on here today, and happy to be here and welcome everybody to the call.
I'm Catherine Clement. I'm here in Boulder, Colorado, and I bet you it's colder here. I just welcome everyone for being here early on a Saturday morning. Thanks for coming. And I oil pull too, Sandy, so maybe that's, I don't know. I'm not as awake as you this morning, though. So.
You guys are going to have to tell me what you're talking about, because I have no clue what oil pool is. So, and yeah, Dan, you don't know either. I see you shake your head, Jason. Yeah, okay, so at the end you can tell us all about that. Okay, so guys, let's jump into our discussion this morning. We actually are in, let me just open the book here, and we can kind of talk about this section, because we're in part 2. And part 2 is all about different ways to make a lasting impression. And it's talking about kind of setting yourself apart from everybody else in the, I don't know if necessarily in the world, but in whatever aspect of your life you are trying to change or connect with people better. So if you're trying to, have better business relationships and you want to gain more customers and that sort of thing, is that when you start interacting with people online and in your business relationships, a lot of times you'll know that you're in competition with other people. And if you want to stand out from all of those other people, you've got to do some different kinds of things. And in relationship building, that's what this book or this particular chapter is talking about, is different ways to make those lasting impressions so that you stand out from the crowd of all the people that you might be in competition with in your business. And maybe that would work if you're trying to find a mate too. I don't know. I mean, there's different, it just depends on what you're trying to do in your life, right? But anyway, so we're in the section called, we're in section 2 of the part 2 of the book, and this one is all about smiles, and or smiling and happiness and that sort of thing, so we all kind of share a little bit of our thoughts, or not all of us, but a couple of us shared some of our thoughts in our pre-mastermind discussion, where we shared experiences as far as being happy and smiling and that sort of thing. And one thing I've noticed is that when you smile, you're more attractive. And I think that no matter who you are and what you look like or anything like that, if you're smiling, you're generally more attractive, because that conveys something that connects with everyone. And that's that saying that's, when you smile, the world smiles with you. You've all heard that. And of course, you are more welcoming when you smile, and so people are more attracted to that. It's just like a warmer feeling. It's like you almost instantly, or maybe you do instantly, just increase your level of vibration that attracts people to you. Because if you're giving off a scowl, nobody wants to be around you. It's like you instantly are putting off this like negative vibration, or this almost like a force field up between you and the other people in the world. But a smile is completely open and positive, and people respond to it very quickly. Although I noticed in the discussion that, well, and actually, didn't we talk about this previously, Sandy, where you were saying that, or maybe you posted it on Facebook, where you're talking about smiling at people as you're walking around down in Miami, and people were just not responding to that or whatever. I mean, how was that? What happened with that? I remember you saying.
I was sharing. I think, Dan, you wrote on my wall about it too. Thank you for that. I had just moved into my new apartment building, and just I'm new, and I'm like meeting new people in the neighborhood. So in my apartment building, I figure it's good to be friendly with your neighbors naturally, and so hello, how are you doing? Whenever I'd see new people, and twice, like, people would just walk by me and like nothing, not even acknowledge that I said hello or even look at me, and I'm like, what? So it made me sad, but then I realized later, it's them, it's not me. So, but I'll go on with what you were saying too while I'm speaking here. It's almost like it's the norm to walk around with a straight face, or walk around like not smiling. I think a lot of times when we are smiling or we're happy, people are like, why are you smiling? Or why are you so happy? They want to know why, like it's unnatural or something. And it's sad, because when you do walk around, I mean, I noticed this a lot more in New York. People just are very almost solemn-faced, just going about their day. And what a difference it makes when people smile. If I would be on a subway car in New York and one person is smiling, it like changes the whole atmosphere of the car, rather than this gloom and doom or feeling that's going on when people aren't happy. And what would it take to have people just walking around joyful, with a smile? I think a lot of the, I guess, straight-faced, solemn looks that people walk around with is just not being in the present moment. They're in their head, they're frustrated about this, they're thinking about something else. But I think when we're present and we're enjoying where we are and what we're doing in the moment, and we just smile, like you said, Samantha, it's just, everything flows better. You notice people interact with you differently, and it changes everything. So, I've made it a point to, continue to smile and be happy, even if they don't want to say hi back. I'm like, whatever, I'm happy, and I'm going to be happy, and no one's going to change that. I had another point, but I forget at the moment. I'll just pop out again later if it comes back. That's it for now.
If anybody wanted to jump in and say anything, you're welcome to.
I'll jump out.
Okay.
This is obviously a subject that nobody on this panel has an issue with, smiling. You know, we're all pretty free with our smiles. I don't know if everybody's always been that way. I've always gotten in trouble for smiling, so I smile when I'm not supposed to because I just can't help it. You know, when I was, I can't remember if it was middle school or the first year of high school. I didn't go much that first year of high school, and then I quit. But anyway, sometime before I quit school, I was in, I think it was even junior ROTC. I don't know if any of you guys know what that is, but it's like a training for going into the military. I know, a whole different world, but I was in this one. But I would be, you know, in uniform and all the everything starched and the shoes polished and all that, and the instructor guy would come up and he'd get all in my face, you know, and he'd be, "Arr," and I would just, you know, crack. I would get this big grin on my face, and he would take his foot and do like this and knock all the shine off my shoes, you know, and then I'd have to shine my. So I was constantly shining my shoes when I was in that program because I could not stand there with a straight face, military face, like I was supposed to. So after I quit school and quit junior ROTC, I became a clown so that I could smile as much as I wanted. But interestingly enough, there's a lot of sad clowns out there, and some clowns will even paint a smile on their face so that they don't have to actually smile. They just have to like have their face like that, but they have this big smile. And I never did that. My smile was always just my smile on my clown face too. But the amazing thing that I never realized, and I don't know, maybe you guys haven't either, because I was like, you got to be kidding me. I was on another mastermind, and actually, I think I told you we covered this book in another mastermind that I'm in, and we were talking about this. And do you know that there are people that don't know how to smile? There are actually like exercises and ways that people learn how to smile, like holding a chopstick or a pencil in your mouth like that, and you can't let your lips touch. And that's how you actually, you have to teach people how to smile. I mean, it blew my mind. I'm like, what do you mean they don't know how to smile? But there are people that don't know how to smile. And one of the techniques was something about pressing your tongue like behind your teeth, and it makes that little. And so I actually had to look it up because it fascinated me. So I learned a little bit about smiling. And one of the things, I came across a really good video done by a photographer, actually, because obviously they have to make people smile, or they want people to smile. So photographers learn how to teach people how to smile, which I never knew that. So, but one of the things they talk about is that it's not just your mouth. We all think of smiles as being in our mouth, but it's not just our mouth. It's also creases here at our eyes and lifting our cheekbones and somehow dropping the corners of your eyes. I don't know. They have all these techniques. You'll have to look it up now because you're interested about it now. But it's so, first of all, in some cultures, they think we're completely crazy because we smile all the time. So we also have to consider that it's more, you know, it's a very cultural thing. But and I know that because I'm always getting accused of things like, what are you up to? You're always smiling, you know, and people think that I'm, you know, sneaking around trying to do something. I don't know. So, but did you guys know that some people don't know how to smile? Like they actually just don't know how to make their mouth do it. Did you know it? I'm going to shut up now.
I did not know that. That is interesting. But I guess I could see how it could happen in different societies where they don't grow up with any sort of joy, or they're traumatized or something for sure. But you did remind me of what I wanted to say earlier. Sorry, guys, but it was just about being. When I was younger, it was also. I think I naturally came in wanting to smile all the time, but it was also shut out of me for a lot of my childhood. It was like, you need to be serious. Why are you so happy? Why you can't be this joyful? Or. So it was when I went into high school. I thought it was cool not to smile. So I was like always wearing black, and I wouldn't smile, and I was serious. And it's looking back at it now, it's like, wow, it was totally like this taboo thing to smile sometimes. And I think sometimes people think you're crazy if you smile all the time, like, what, she must be cuckoo. So I don't know, all these weird beliefs about smiling that just I'm remembering from my youth. So that was the thing that I was going to say earlier.
Well, Catherine, I always got in trouble for whistling because I'm always whistling songs. I've always got a song. There's always something going on in my head, a song, and so it's just having a happy heart. It's having, I don't know how else to put it, just happiness on the inside of you, and it kind of comes out in a smile, comes out in a whistle, or humming a tune, or whatever. So, but I heard years ago that there's actually, it takes more muscles to frown than it does to smile. It's easier to put a smile on your face than it is to wear a frown, so it's less work. So, if you're semi-lazy like me, then, you want to save a little bit of time and energy, then just put on a smile and instead of wearing a frown all the time, But years ago, I heard a saying, smile, it increases your face value. And, it's just, as we go through life and you go and get a cup of coffee in the morning at the store or whatever, and everybody comes in there gloomy and everything, that if you could give the cashier behind the counter there a smile, that might be the only smile they get all day. And I don't know, it just makes more sense to me to go through life. To me, it's like the grease that keeps the wheels of life turning, keeps the planet spinning smoothly. Is just having a happier attitude and happier outlook on life. And bad things happen, yeah, they do, but even in the midst of your pain or your sorrow or whatever, you can still manage to put on a smile, and it actually improves the way that you feel, and it improves the the attitude of others around you. Just to I first started reading this book back in the mid '70s, and I had never heard anything like this. It wasn't taught in school. I didn't ever hear it at home growing up, and it was like I was in a dark place. And when I started reading these types of books, it was like a little ray of sunlight that came in, and so just a ray of sunlight in your life to have a happy attitude, have a good attitude, good outlook on life, and just put a big smile on your face, and to improve the lives of others around you, because you recognize them as being a fellow human being, and that that we all deserve love, that we all deserve just a smile, and just that as a fellow human, it just makes life so much easier, so much better, to put on a big smile, and to recognize that, hey, here's a fellow human being, just like me. They got pains, they got hard things in life, but at the same time, life is good. And just to put on a big smile, look them in the eye, and I know it's a transfer of love and emotion towards another person. You don't even have to say any words, but a smile and look somebody else in the eye, and it transfers an emotion of love to them. So I'll turn it over to you, Jason.
Let me find the mic button here. Okay. Wow. Yeah, that's making connections, Dan. That's and hey, isn't a smile a pretty inexpensive way to help someone out, or just give someone a pick me up, you know? Um, wow, Catherine, someone not knowing how to smile, that's pretty sad. That's makes me pretty sad to hear that. What do they do when you tickle them? You know, um, um, but I can kind of relate in a little bit of a way because uh, I mean, and I think there's a lot of people out here that have had some experiences in their past, and maybe they were all bubbly and happy as a kid, and then something happened and they kind of lost their smile, so to speak. Um, and that I remember a time when I was in high school, and I guess it must have been um, it was one of my friends that noticed. They're like, well, why aren't you smiling? I noticed you haven't been smiling. And I gave her some. It didn't sound lame to me at the time, but it was some lame excuse, kind of like, why do I have to, why should I, walk around with a grin like I've just had a lobotomy or something like that. It was kind of a off the wall comment, and years later, I did realize that was just a lame excuse, that I really was going through some difficult times, and I did lose my natural way, natural smile of just being happy all the time, because things had changed, and nowadays I notice, and I don't know if it's actually connected. But nowadays, I notice that sometimes when I'm having a really good time with some friends, and my face starts to I'm smiling, and my smile starts to hurt. My face starts to hurt because it's just not used to that and having so much fun. I don't know if anyone else has had that feeling, or you're just having so much fun that your face starts to hurt. but but yeah, there's I heard also, Dan, about the muscles. It takes more muscles to frown, so it should be easier to smile, right? Um, but we probably do have to work with it, do some exercises, and practice on our friends and families, people that are receptive to it. You know, um, I've been practicing this past week or so, just kind of smiling a little bit more, and also making a little bit more eye contact with people when I do it, um, just to sort of give them to have a real personal connection, rather than smiling and then letting them see me smile, and I know they see me, but we didn't really make eye contact, and but not making so much eye contact that I sort of weird people out, um, but it's fun, and talking about this reminded me that back in high school also, when I was just learning to drive, a couple of us guys were out in one of our cars, and we're driving around, and we're like, well, what are we going to do? We're pretty bored, but we're driving around and we were in a good mood. So, and we were pulling up to people in intersections and stuff, and they'd just be blank faced and staring off in the distance, and we'd catch their eye, and we'd start waving and smiling, and hey, and they'd start waving and smiling back, and we didn't know who they were, they didn't know who we were, you know. And I just thought that was kind of a funny experiment that we did. That we were kind of messing with people, but at the same time, it was interesting, the reaction we got. And these people, we never saw them again, and we never knew them before. We just having an effect on them, and I thought that was pretty interesting. Um, have you guys ever had a situation where you did something like that, and you realized you just had a powerful effect on someone by just by smiling, or eye contact? I wonder.
I had a situation. I was walking through a mall and I had an elderly gentleman approach me in the mall, and he said, if everyone had a smile like yours, the world would be such a better place. And it was so heartwarming to me because I was just walking through the mall, just myself, like, I wasn't trying to impress anybody with a smile or anything, but it caught him. And I mean, he approached me from way far away, so it was very sweet. And I guess being a nurse and a pediatric nurse and working with kids, I always tried to make everything fun around all the bad stuff I had to do to the kids. And But I wanted to mention, I won't go on and on, but I wanted to mention that one of the reasons there's actually, we've talked a little bit about personality colors in the last couple of weeks, and there's a personality color that tends not to smile. And actually, there's two that tend not to smile. But one of the reasons why people have trouble smiling is because it's like when you smile, you can, if you're just like, like smile for the camera. But my eyes, you can tell I'm not smiling, right? My mouth is just going. But if you smile, people, it's a whole face thing, but it's like lying to them. If it's not genuine, it's like lying. And so most people have trouble lying, and people are very quick to pick up on other people lying. So that's I never ever considered smiling and lying in the same um, sentence, really, but that's one of the things that I learned when I started studying smiling. So.
Yeah, oops. I think you can, definitely tell whether we're aware of it or not intuitively, when somebody is generally smiling and when it's just a fake one. I think, part of when I was growing up, I put on a lot of fake smiles. I would just force them, and now it's just very natural. Like if I don't smile, I feel wrong. So I don't know what my point was, but I had one.
Something
Yeah, I
I
think
find
you
really
sort of.
interesting is, in all sales training, they tell you to smile when you're on the telephone. And years ago, I worked for a placement agency for a little bit of time, and on our desk we had to keep a mirror there just in order to to remind yourself that when you're on the telephone to put on a smile, because even though that person can't see your face, your smile actually comes through the telephone line. Just the vibes that you put off, that the other person can pick up whether you were smiling, on the other side of the line. So turn it over to someone else.
Yeah, I was just going to say that I learned to uh, be content, and that in my mind was being happy. But then there's that next level of where you're so happy that it makes you smile, so where something brings that out of you. Um, but I'd been asked before, why do you look so sad, or why do you look so stressed, or something like that. It catches me off guard because I'm usually just thinking about something, or engrossed with something, and I'm not necessarily unhappy. I'm content, and I'm in a state where I'm able to, I'm comfortable and able to function. And to me, that's being stress free is pretty happy to me. But yeah, it's totally dawns on me that I'm sending the wrong signals. Um, of course, I've got this sort of. I probably need to break this mindset, but about being an entertainer. I think when I was younger, I had a situation on stage where I messed up, and then I'm like, forget about it. I'm not going to be entertaining people. I'm not going to be responsible for making them happy. They can, and it's that's not really the way to go about it. Nobody told me that it doesn't need to be that way. It takes practice, that sort of thing. And I was young, but um, and I think there's just all these different ideas growing up too. Another one was we were reading, and this was in grade school. We're reading about the Romans and how stoic they are, and I thought, wow, they're going through so much, and they're torn in so many different ways to with these people that they love, and the army they have to serve, and they have to sit there and be stoic and not have any expression. I'm like, wow, and I thought that was an admirable quality, and now here I find out, that no, it's the whole, you need to be showing that you're not a robot, that you are approachable, and I see it opening doors, and so I'm glad to be reminded of this, and you know, I think this is a great discussion for everybody. You know.
I'm reminded of the English guards, that are outside the palace that are not supposed to move or make a face or do anything, and people are always messing with them. And I can't imagine how hard that has got to be. You've got to have some serious control to be able to ignore all the people that are coming up to mess with you, and you're supposed to be standing there all just yeah, I mean, I can't imagine. You see all this stuff on TV where they're messing with those guards and they're doing crazy things and, just trying to make them do anything. And I'm like, God, that would be a horrible job. But I don't know, maybe at the end of the day they go home and just laugh for an hour. I don't know. Or rage. It could go either way. Um, but Marlene she's posted a comment on the event page, so I want to read that. Okay, so Marlene says, I don't always talk about this, but my teeth changed when I was older and I had some removed. With no insurance, I did not have the opportunity at the time to go have dental work, and my type 2 diabetes sugar levels have prevented the surgery needed for implants. I finally go through that and just smile anyway and enjoy life we cannot hold back from others because of our fears. That is so powerful, Marlene. And Vicki and I have both kind of talked about this before as far as our teeth are concerned, because of course I don't know if you guys noticed or not, but I got this like snaggletooth thing going on, And Vicki was talking about how she has a little gap in between her two front teeth, and I've noticed that throughout the years when I've come into contact with some people, is they're really self-conscious about their teeth. And I don't know, when you study about dreams and that sort of thing, you'll hear about the dreams that are your teeth falling out or teeth this or that or whatever, and it's some kind of a stress-related thing. But anyway, my point is that, like Jason was just saying, is you just got to, go out there and smile either, no matter what. Or like Marlene was just saying, it's just you gotta smile through it and not worry about what other people are going to think, because there's always going to be somebody out there thinking whatever they're going to think. But that, like Sandy was saying, and when she's smiling to the people who are not interested in her, it doesn't matter. She smiles for her own self. I mean, you got to smile for yourself. You got to portray that energy that you want to put out there into the world, and a smile is a perfect way to do that. But I had some other thoughts. You guys made so many great points as we were going along. And let's see here. Okay. So one of the things that this chapter was kind of talking about is the message that you're conveying online, because of course we talk a lot about working online and that sort of thing, and this book is about communicating in the digital age. And so a lot of us find ourselves communicating on Facebook and Twitter and Google Plus and all these different places through the written word. And so it's important to be able to convey a message that is positive, because of course if you come across negative, or you come across stoic, or you come across aggressive or something along that lines, then that changes the whole dynamic of that relationship that you're trying to build. And when I first got online, I struggled with that because I was not great at written word communication, and so I would have conversations with people and I would get this kind of negative feedback, not them critiquing what I was saying, but them not responding in the way that I expected, and they almost responded in a way that I thought they were mad at me, and they may have been. I'm not really sure, but the point is when Dan mentioned smiling when you're on the phone, and of course I've learned that previously as well, is that it was just kind of like one of those techniques that you use. When you smile, you come across as happier. It's like because that changes your overall energy, as it actually changes the way that you speak, and so therefore you convey a more positive message. You convey that happiness or that warmth that you want people to feel when you're communicating with them, right? So I had a thought, and I don't know how well this will work, but I think that in my written communication is when I'm trying to come up with something, as I try and get into that emotional state of feeling happy. And of course, when we talk about ways to help yourself feel happy, we talk about smiling. Spend some time smiling or giggling at yourself or making funny faces or whatever to lift your energy. And if you can lift your energy, then it makes it it makes it easier to communicate in a way that is positive. And I think that that can come through in your written word just as easily as it can in the tone of your voice and the attitude of your words and that sort of thing. If people can hear you and see you, so I don't know. What do you guys think? Do you think if we smile when we're writing to people, do you think that can make a difference in the way that our words come across emotionally to those other people?
Yeah, for sure. I heard that reminds me of one of our mentors who said, you know, every time he writes an email, every time he makes a video, every time whatever he's doing in his business, he has a certain intention that he is very aware of. So I think for sure that makes a big difference. And you know, if you're smiling, it's an energy. Everything is an energy. So whatever we're putting into anything we're doing will be you know, fizzled out, and when they receive it, they'll receive that smile with it. And you were reminding me of when you were talking about, I've talked about this before, about Tony Robbins' exercise, where, you know, if you're feeling down, just go to the mirror, you know, or whatever. If you're feeling whatever, just go to the mirror and smile at yourself for like 5 minutes straight, and you can't help but feel good because it's, number one, you might feel silly, so you just start laughing anyway. So just like smile at yourself in the mirror. And that's something that I do before videos now. Like the 3 seconds while the camera's loading, I just like, I do something silly, like, wee, you know, and then when the camera is on, it's just like I'm in this energy of like, yeah. And so I think it's super important to set those intentions before we're whatever we're doing, email, video, blogging, whatever it is, because it definitely comes through everything. Yep.
Well, I believe that, you know, like a battery or a magnet. I have some magnets that I mess with them all the time. You know, out in the living room, they're just a couple of magnets, and I've always been fascinated with magnets because of the side that attracts, and then you turn them over and the other side repels. And then the same thing with, you know, like a battery. You know, you got a negative side of the battery and you got a positive side of the battery. And I believe that as human beings, you know, the positive emotions that brings out or comes out of you actually draws other people to you. And just like the batteries or the magnets, when you use the negative side, it actually repels people away from you. And so we're in a business of influencing people in a positive way. It only makes sense to bring out the positive that's in you. And I'm trying to think of the name of the book. You'd all know the book if I could remember what it's called. The Power of the Subconscious Mind. That's what it is. And there's a sentence in there where he talks about reversing your polarity. And I heard a speaker leader in another company years and years ago, back in the 70s, and he talked about that when you come into the sales industry, or, you know, the home-based business industry, that most people, the majority of our thoughts are negative on a daily basis. And I have a book that even talks about that, the number of negative thoughts. They've mapped it, how many negative thoughts comes into your mind during the day. And so what we're in the business of doing is influencing other people for positive. Well, that starts with us influencing ourselves for positive. And so bringing out the positive emotions, the positive vibrations that you know, the human spirit is energy. And to bring out the positive emotions that are there brings out the positive side of you. And it is a reversal of polarity. Napoleon Hill writes about a river of life, that one river is going in one direction, another river is going in another direction, and one river is positive, the other river is negative. And so it's jumping over into the positive side of the stream, of the river of life, and keeping yourself in that positive mindset as you go throughout your life, throughout your day. When you go to bed at night, and go to bed with a smile on your face. I mean, that's why we read our goals before we go to bed at night, because you are programming your mind for positive. You're programming the positive attitude within you of creative imagination, looking forward to the future, instead of looking back at the past and all the rotten, crappy things that happened in your past. No, I'm looking for the future. I'm looking for the good, and that creates the positive emotions in you, takes you over into the positive side of the river of life, and heads you, in the creative imagination instead of having a negative attitude. And so, to set goals, to write them down on paper, to visualize your goals, to read them out loud, to make the statements, the positive affirmations that we make, that is all in order to influence our own spirit, or influence our own emotions, and to influence ourselves for the positive side, for the positive river of life, so that we can stay out of the negative side, and putting on a smile on your face, having a happy attitude, whistling a tune, putting on the smile that you got, Catherine. It's all in order to influence our own emotions, influence our own thinking, so that we can have something to give to other people, to give them a smile, to give them a positive vibration, to where people will say, hey, I don't know what you got, but I want a piece of it. I want to be with you, instead of the negative, repelling emotions that if you don't program your own mind in some way, then it's just like a field that the weed seeds grow over. The wind just blows the weed seeds over into the field, and the weeds come up. Well, it's the same thing with a well-manicured yard or a well-manicured garden. It takes time. You gotta get in there and do some work. And it's the same thing with our attitude. If we want to attract people to us, it's going to take some work, a happy attitude, a big smile, and really getting after it that way, in order to stay in that positive flow, the positive river of life, that just like the magnet attracts other people to you. So I'll turn it over to somebody else.
Wow, that was great, Dan. That's that's, like the past year, I've been learning all that stuff that you've been mentioning, and affirmations. That is so powerful, and I think that in my mind, the way I see it is we're filling our minds with positive information, positive messages, so that there's no room for the negative, and developing the habits of countering any negative habits with positive thoughts immediately, right when you start thinking about them. Really great stuff. I'm glad you brought that up. I really don't have any more to say. I just wanted to say thank you. That's some great points.
Jason, you make my point on the colors, because I think Danielle and I have referred to you as a green, and green is one of those colors that, and what you said was so poignant, is that it's not that you're unhappy, you're just in your thoughts, it's not that you're unhappy, it's just that you don't necessarily, or you're just not always smiling all the time, but it doesn't mean you're unhappy. And I think that's one of the great things about learning how to work with different colors and different personalities. Just because someone isn't smiling doesn't mean they're not happy. And I think we've done humanity a disservice, because cultures have guided people into being things other than what they are. Women have been taught that we always must smile all of the time and be happy all of the time, and so we hide our grumpiness, and then you guys are taught, that you have to be very stoic and manly, and you're not supposed to smile, and so you guys are like happy, but you're hiding your smiles. I see these guys, sometimes I get these friend requests on Facebook, and I'll pull up this guy's picture, and he's like this, and I'm like, holy shit, I don't even want to friend this person. I'm like afraid, but I know that that's just like this persona that they put on because it makes them feel more manly or something. I don't know, but it's really, people just have to learn how to be themselves, because a smile, everybody can see a fake smile. A smile is a vibration. It's not an action. It's not an exercise. It's a vibration, and that's why people feel it. you know, when through your writing or through the phone. They obviously can't see your smile through the phone, but they can hear it, they can feel it because it's vibration. We're energetic beings, so we can always pick up on if it's genuine or not. And I don't want to make it seem like you always have to be happy all the time, because there is a lot to learn from sadness, and from you know, there's good in all parts of it. You know, you have to, but it's really hard. Like once you learn how to look at the positive things on everything or make the best out of everything, it's really hard to kind of undo that, is what I found. Is that what you guys, like, once you cross that? I mean, yeah, we all still have negative thoughts, but it's so much easier now. I mean, it's, well, I just crack up laughing at myself most of the time. So that's because I do stupid stuff. But, you know, don't you guys find once you kind of, there's kind of like this little bump that you get over, you know, and after that, it's a little bit easier just to laugh at yourself, I think.
Yeah, I completely agree, Catherine, that there is kind of a crossroads, or a hump, as you say, or bump in the kind of in your own mindset, in your own attitude in life, and all of those different aspects of your emotions and your attitude about things, is that because of the fact that, just like we were studying in the new psycho-cybernetics book, that so much of what is going on in our brain is actually stuff that has been programmed to be there by our upbringing and our culture and television and everything that we allowed ourselves to add to our brain and our mind and our knowledge, is that we have all this pre-programming. And when you try and change that, you know, say if you're not a real smiley person, if you don't have a positive attitude all the time, you're trying to make a change in that, and you know, it's like Dan was talking about, the majority of the time our thoughts are negative, and that's so true because of this pre-programming. And when we start to be more mindful of those thoughts that are coming into our head, that's when you actually can start to make that change. And because if you don't even know what you're doing, then you can't make a change with it. But when you start becoming more mindful of each thing that pops into your head, is then all of a sudden you're able to make those changes. And of course, when we're talking about smiling as one of those things that you can use as a first step towards that change, but as you do that over time, as you become more mindful, as you change more thoughts, as you smile more on purpose, if you have more intention in what you're doing, is that you kind of get to that crossroads, or that barrier that before that point in time, it was more of a struggle. You had to concentrate on it so much more. And then after, it's like all of a sudden you start to have more habitual programming of what you have reprogrammed yourself to act like and to be like and to feel and portray that energy and all of those things. And that is such a powerful thing, because I know that particularly for people who struggle with you know, like depression and that sort of thing, which is something that I'd struggled with for a lot of years, because it was just these feelings would come up and I would feel like I had no control over it. I would just be in this funk and I'd feel like crap and I'd just be unhappy, and it was just a really unpleasant feeling. But, you know, in this past year, I've really noticed that those times have become less and less, and that even when that slight feeling starts to come up, is that now I feel like I've crossed over this barrier where it doesn't affect me like it used to. It doesn't even really. I'm just like, ah, whatever. You got this. You know, I just say that and I'm good, and then I'm fine after that. You know, and it's just easier, and it's just such a wonderful feeling to know that, okay, I finally crossed over that line of having it be easier than it was. You know, it's becoming more habitual and more, you know, ingrained to be happy all the time, or not so much all the time, but to have you know, happy feelings and have positive reactions to situations and that sort of thing. So it's just it's wonderful to have that happen. But so yeah, one thing I wanted to mention on that is, and we're talking about being more mindful is to be more mindful of our interactions with people and that energy that you're portraying out into the world, because when you are more mindful, then you are you are having that intention, like what Sandy was talking about, as having an intention of a specific outcome or a specific interaction and what that's going to mean, and that can be very, very helpful. And I think that smiling, of course, is kind of like the catalyst to all of that. And I think we could actually talk more and more on this subject than what I thought we'd be able to. But I was going to say something else. I was going to mention how I wanted to ask everybody, how have have you ever come into a situation where someone would think, oh, this is going to go a bad way, or it's not going to be good, but you've come into it with a smile and a happy attitude and everything's been fine? And for instance, if we're talking about, getting pulled over for speeding, or you go into a work environment where everybody's all unhappy all the time, but you're happy, and so you don't have that bad experience. I mentioned a couple things in my pre-mastermind discussion, or I mentioned one thing is that this campground that we live in has a lot of people in this campground that my husband has talked to, and he's had conversations with, is they complain about the owners of the campground being so bitchy, and I'm like, I have not experienced that, but I'm like, I go into everything in interactions with people, particularly in businesses that I'm going to be interacting with a positive attitude, and because of that, I feel like I just have a happier experience in life. And what's funny is that you kind of look at other people out there that just have this kind of negative attitude, and they're just always scowling and they're always complaining, and I'm like, dude, you're bringing this on yourself. Can't you see that? Can't you see that what you're doing and how you're being is causing what you're complaining about? I don't know. That's my thought. What do you guys think?
Yeah, a couple months ago, I rode with two of my sisters up to one of my other sister's place. She lives like an hour and a half north of here, and we was going to go get choke cherries to make syrup and jelly and that type of stuff up there in the mountains. And so I rode with two sisters up there, and God, one of my sisters, she just bitched the whole way up and bitched the whole way back. I asked her, I said, is that all you ever do is bitch? I mean, my gosh, give it a rest. But, I mean, all she ever does is complain. It's like, God, why? Doesn't it? I mean, whatever you concentrate in life grows in your experience, So what are you looking at? What are you focusing on? It goes back to that what I was talking about earlier, the magnets and the batteries that have a positive terminal and a negative terminal, which terminal you want to grab onto and ride, I just choose to grab a hold of the positive, But something I discovered a long, long time ago is, I mean, Samantha, there's been some times in my life when I've gone through depression, and I understand that, and something that, it was actually from a biblical passage, but it was King David at that time in the Psalms, and he was asking himself, why so downcast, O my soul? And he asked himself, he was talking out loud to himself, he says, why am I so downcast, And to reverse that polarity, once again, you go back to your spoken words and the words that you speak out loud to yourself, or like the mirror thing he's talking about, somebody's talking about, going to a mirror and just stand in front of a mirror and smiling. You can actually reverse the polarity of your life from the words that you speak to yourself. You speak them out loud to yourself, a positive confession, and the action will, how am I trying to think of the words, how to put it, but anyway, the actual feelings follows the action. So you take the action first, and then the feelings will come. That you speak to yourself. You program your own self with your tongue from speaking to yourself positive words, or to take that time to go do a silly exercise and just stand in a mirror and making faces or smiling at yourself for 5 minutes, and choosing choosing the words that you speak. Like I talk about my sister just bitching and bitching and bitching. It's like, my gosh, give it a rest. If you can't say something good, then don't say anything at all. I turned over to somebody else.
Yeah, Samantha, I've had some situations like that. But I I want to bring to your attention that our smiles, they have an emotional transfers. From what I've come to understand is just the same as a frown does. We have to be aware that we can anchor these feelings to whatever we want. And if we have these words going on in our heads that cause us to be sad and to be making us happy, or suppose something that we should be enjoying, we do that enough times, eventually we're going to start feeling sad whenever we think about doing that activity. And I don't know, maybe you guys have a different opinion, but I believe we can do the same thing with smiles. If we're thinking about doing something that we normally are like dread, it's not that big of a deal. We just kind of dread doing it. Smiling, just the act of smiling, like looking in the mirror, like Sandy said, like you guys were saying, sends a message to our brain that, hey, this is something we should be having a happy emotion about. And I think our brain starts looking for the reasons to be happy, and it starts making those connections. But it also goes the other way. If we come into it frowning, it's assuming that, okay, this is something that we really don't want to do, and then I think our brain, or at least mine, sometimes starts trying to look for ways out of the task. So it's kind of twofold. It's we have total control over it, but sometimes we don't realize that we do, because we might be thinking about a situation going on in our life or a friend's life that's making us upset, but we're trying to just move on to get our work done or something like that, and we're actually pulling that emotion into our activity. And one day we might end up finding out, why am I not enjoying this work anymore? So it actually does take effort to retrain ourselves, because I feel we're a product of our environment, and the things that people say to us, they get caught in our short-term memory, and they just keep going around and around like a song, and if we don't make an actual effort to correct those thoughts, to be moving in the direction that we want to be going, then those can come up at any time and derail us. So I guess that the effort is really important. And I just want to say one other thing, that looking in the mirror and smiling, that's great. I have a little twist on it, and I tell this to some unwitting people that, go ahead, and if you have a problem if you're not happy, if you're sad, go in the mirror, go in front of a mirror and try to make a perfect circle with your mouth. Just focus on doing that for 5 minutes, okay? And then call me and tell me what you found out. And usually about 3 minutes in, you look at yourself and you realize what a funny face you're making, and you start laughing. So, but that was just a little a little different twist on what you were saying earlier. I try not to complain, Dan. I try not to. And it's funny, every time since I've been working on these affirmations and the personal development, you start to get aggravated when you see it in other people, and it's hard to, you can't control them. You can kind of tell them what, you've learned, but, this is really an internal personal journey for each of us. So, I wish everybody the best of luck with it, because it can give you whiplash sometimes. You're doing good, and then all of a sudden a huge wave of negative emotions comes towards you, and you're like, where did that come from. We keep working at it, and we do have that power to control it. So those are my thoughts on that.
Well, and Jason, that's why I say I don't want to put too much emphasis on being happy all the time, because as humans, we have experiences daily that cause fluctuations of emotions, and if we're just constantly happy, 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 what that really is we're just repressing all that other stuff. So it's better just to kind of let it move through, but not get stuck with it. As someone that has body has pain all the time, believe me, I have my low moments. Okay, I'm just not always in a thrilling, happy place. But what I have found, and I work with a lot of people that are in a very unhappy place because they are in pain, but they can't find happiness outside of the pain, where that's kind of a gift that I've had. Yes, I have pain, but I have my happiness as well. I can be in excruciating pain and still be happy because um, well, for one of the reasons, I mean, I would just be a miserable soul if I didn't. And I work with a lot of people, and I see the effect that it has on them and their bodies. And your body, you have to kind of maintain a certain vibration to help your body along. So, but um, stuffing the negative emotions and just trying to be happy all the time, that doesn't work either, because like you said, all of a sudden it sneaks up on you and you get like this tidal wave, comes over you, and you're like, oh no, and then you think, where'd my happiness go? But it's still there. But it's, everything is a choice, and that's why we do this mastermind, is because some people don't realize that. And we didn't realize it at one point. We had to find it out for ourselves, and that's why we share these insights with everyone, because it's a choice, and your words and your thoughts are so powerful, and not just the way they affect you and your body, but other people. And we never know what someone else is going through. So you might think you're having a bad day when you call the telephone company about that extra fee that got added on there, but you have no idea what that person is going through. So just I guess treat other, it goes back to one of your favorite books there, Dan, treat others as you would like to be treated, right? Yeah. Thank you everyone for coming this week. I know we're running on, we're after the hour. I'll hush up.
Do you want to add anything else, Sandy, before we wrap up today?
Sure, I'll be quick. Yeah, that was an important point, Catherine, that we can't just always be happy. There's waves to life, and we got to ride the waves. And I think, when we are working on personal development, and like Samantha said, when things do come, like emotions and depressions, like we can look at them differently. We can almost be happy through the ups and downs in a way, but not like this fake happiness, but just being aware of like, okay, this is natural. I can look at this, I can see what's going on, and enjoy it rather than resisting it. Just go through the wave of the sadness, go through the wave of the anger, go through the wave of the frustration, and it's normal. And just enjoy the process. And then when you were talking before, Samantha, about your what was it, the owners of your campground? Some people seeing them as bitchy, and you said, well, I don't see a problem. I noticed that a lot. Like, I don't really take people's opinions to mean whatever the truth is anymore, because it's all a reflection of where we are. Like, somebody may say, well, that guy's a complete ass, and then when I meet him, I'm like, I don't see ass at all. Like, he's nice, so it's always a reflection of ourselves. So I never listen to anybody's opinion right off the bat, like, oh, well, let me go and talk to that person with that in my mind, that he must be this way. Like, always being open to, okay, that was their opinion, but I may experience them differently, because we're all a reflection of whatever we're going through, and that's it. So I just wanted to add that part. And thank you everyone for coming out today. Good discussion, and yeah, we did the whole hour and even longer on just smiling. So we'll have to talk about names next week.
Oh, guys, everybody made so many awesome points this morning, and I really wanted to give you kudos, Jason, because you touched on something that was really important, in that the anchoring aspect of it is that, when something comes up, and you can choose what you want that to mean, because, maybe you feel like it means this feeling right now, but when you can make a choice, it's like that, the whole, when I was talking about being mindful, it's like when the feeling comes up and you react in the way that you have before, you notice it, you become mindful of it, and you're like, okay, now that I recognize that there is this feeling relating to this situation or this thing, is that now you can choose, do I want to continue to feel this feeling, or do I want to feel something different? And when you can kind of go through that process of really deciding for yourself what you want to feel, it's like your whole entire world changes, because now you're not like chained by what you think you're supposed to react to based on your previous experience. It's like you take this power back from everything that's happened to you up until this point, and all of a sudden you just empower yourself with the ability to make your life better, because you are choosing what you want everything to mean from this point and forward. And so, when Jason, you mentioned about anchoring, it just tied that all in together, because whatever the situation is, and you make that choice of what you want to feel, and then you can kind of focus on one particular aspect of it to lock it in or anchor it in, then that helps you move forward into your life so that you can continue to react and be and experience the life that you actually want to have. And let's see here. Oh, and so I can't remember who was saying what at the time, but when you were talking about how people tend to have this kind of bad attitude to themselves, or they're unhappy or whatever, and then instead of being proactive and working on it, is they will kind of beat themselves up. And so we have to get out of that habit of beating yourself up for not feeling or not doing or not acting the way that you want to feel, and instead just notice it and decide from this point forward what you want it to be. And I know this kind of the end of our discussion kind of went off a little bit more into personal development versus just the smiling and the positive attitude to have better relationships with people. But the truth is that the better relationship you have with yourself, the better relationship you will automatically have with other people. Just like when Dan was talking about reversing your polarity, and how if you're in negative attitude yourself, and you're having depression yourself, and you're unhappy yourself, is that's what you tend to portray out into the world. So if you can jump over into that positive polarity by fixing yourself and working on yourself, you automatically are better with other people too. So I think that we just kind of final out today's discussion with that. And like Sandy said, next week we'll talk about the next section that is all about names and the importance of interacting with people in their names. So yeah, that's my final thoughts for today. So unless somebody else wants to add something at the very last second, I know we're a couple of minutes over today. Anybody? Final words? Okay, cool. All right, guys, well, have an awesome, amazing, and wonderful Saturday, or, the rest of your weekend. And, next week I'll be broadcasting from Florida. I'm going to be down in the Hudson, Florida area, hanging out with my mom for about a month or so. So it'll be in a different location, so that'll be fun. Well, I mean, you guys will be in the same location, but I'll be in a different location. I may try, if it's nice, I may try and find a way to broadcast from the beach. That'd be kind of cool, right? But anyway, I know you should try that sometime, Sandy. I mean, do you have a way to do that where you could broadcast from the beach? You and Jason, you could too. We could all broadcast from the beach. That'd be cool.
I'll try that today.
Okay, guys, well, we'll wrap it up. Have a great day, and meet us here again next week at SaturdayMorningMastermind.com. And then, of course, jump over to our Google Plus community, which is mindsetmasterycollective.com. And of course, you can find both of those links by looking at the top banner on this page or in the description for this particular event. All the links are there, and the replay links and all that kind of stuff. So that's it for today, and we'll see you next week. Bye for now.
Bye-bye.